like a CEO. And so my buddy Doug played for him, and Doug played for him and for Buddy Ryan, and that would be Doug Plank, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Doug told me quite a bit. He said, I got to tell you, a lot of people seem to have that whole Mike Ditka thing wrong. And it's unfortunate because he's not the guy that people think he is.
Yeah.
And for me, it's
now Buddy Ryan is.
But yeah, I've certainly heard that about Buddy, but ultimately, I mean, Mike's he's been a great guy with the guys, and I'm not really surprised that he is the way he is with the people like yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a good thing. Sorry, I'm just setting up over here. We're about ready.
That's good.
Yeah, man, we're ready to go. We can go wherever this goes. Just remember, no bad language. Can't do that one.
I think I can refrain.
I try to. It's just that then I have to edit it out of the audio. But this whole recording goes live, and it stays live. So when I post it, when it goes for pick your favorite radio station from Southwest Florida, from the very corner of Southwest Florida, all the way out to Honolulu.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's not a podcast. No, it's a real show. And the TV side of this, it streams, but then it's going to go to post. It has to be distributed and all this other stuff. It takes a couple of weeks for all that crap to happen, but all good stuff.
How long does it last usually?
Well, you could stay on for as long as you want, anywhere from one segment to all four segments. And I do an hour show, but it goes by super quick.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So I think I'm just about ready over here. Let's go ahead and minimize this. I'm going to put this on the speaker view and watch for my cues for 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds. And usually that's 15, but I'm going to do one of these.
Okay.
No, stop. No, you can't do anymore. All right. But real loose conversation. It goes wherever it goes. And
okay.
It's so simple. I've been doing this for, so yeah, we have no limits of what we want to cover. So everything that you're trying to promote, from your speaking to your personal interest, hell, I don't care if you like pickleball, you want to talk about that, golf, I don't really care.
I did just have my knee replaced a couple of weeks ago, so I'm getting over that right now.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Stand by here. We're going to go ahead and get this thing rolling. Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Remaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Only the best in the business. When do you check out their New York steaks, those filet mignons, and the king of all those massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes, the biggest ones I've ever seen, and probably the best you'll ever have as well. Even those Angus and Wagyu prime burgers, half-pound burgers, monsters. I eat two at a time only because I'm a slob. Check them out at uppercutchops.com and find out what's for dinner, or give a call 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935 for uppercutchops.com. All right, a big round of applause for everybody tuning in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, all of our independents as well as Cox Comcast, Spectrum, Time Warner, Wow Cable affiliates. We're all over the place. Frontier Cable as well. Also, everybody that's tuning in on hotel television in over 600,000 rooms from coast to coast, 4 million impressions plus per hour. Match that one, everybody else. Good luck, because the Sports Circus is there and you're not. I know, because I'm the program director. All right, folks, we are joined by a very special guest. In fact, let's let him introduce himself.
Hey, thanks for having me. My name is Randy Grimes, and I had a great 10-year career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I also have a story to tell about that 10 years in Tampa.
All right.
You know, and another part of that, you know, in the 10 years that I was there, I had 5 different head coaches. I had 6 different offensive line coaches. I had 12 different quarterbacks, and I had 4 different general managers. But, you know, the one consistent thing about the Bucs in the 80s and early 90s was Randy Grimes at center. I seemed to survive all those changes. So that's a quick introduction.
Randy, how many head coaches? 5 head coaches?
Five head coaches. Absolutely. We were a revolving door of players, front office personnel. You know, how my best season was 6-10. And how could you ever get any consistency going when you're having changeovers like that every year, learning new playbooks and having new teammates, you know?
How long does it take to learn a playbook?
Well, and it's not so much that the plays are different, but every coach brings in new terminology, you know, and that's the hard thing, is getting all the new terminology down. I mean, plays are plays, and pretty much everybody does the same thing, but they talk differently about them.
But you got to learn the movement, especially in your position as a center, learning the movement and the tendencies of your quarterback, I would imagine.
Oh, I know. And that one year that we had Steve Young, you know, that guy was never where he was supposed to be. You know, he was never 7 steps back in the pocket. He was always running left or right, trying to make something happen. And, you know, we even went to the extent of drawing little eyes on the back of our helmet so we could kind of watch where he was. Because, you know, when you're pass blocking for a quarterback who's supposed to be straight back 7 steps, you know, there's certain things you can do and certain things that you can't do. But that guy was always trying to make something happen.
Yeah. I mean, how do you keep this guy in a tackle box? It's not possible. And mind you, this was before the chaos of what ensues today in the NFL. And so now that's the throwback, but so many coaches, so many general managers, so many moving parts. It's no wonder you had no real consistency.
No real consistency. And like I said, my best year was 6-10. And, but you know what, Sal? I wouldn't trade my time here in Tampa for anything. You know, I played with some great guys. Tampa, the community of Tampa, Florida, was awesome to start our family at. And, you know, just a lot of really, really good memories.
Yeah, Tampa is a very high quality of life. The people are good. The people are real. And look, I can tell you, I have lived on the West Coast for a lot of years. Being a Midwestern boy, it is a very different world living on the West Coast to what's going on the West Coast of Florida, if you know what I mean.
Right. It's a little more laid back here. It's a little more old Florida, and that's what I like. You know, as opposed to the East Coast of Florida, you know, where you've got more snowbirds and different things going on. Seems like the West Coast of Florida is just a little more laid back, a little more old Florida kind of feel to it.
What seemed to me is I travel quite a bit back and forth to the Tampa area. And it seems to me that the people from the East Coast, from the Northeast, for example, they will migrate along the Atlantic coast, but the people from the Midwest seem to go to the West Coast of Florida. What do you think about that?
No, you're exactly right. You know, you get a lot of people from New York, New Jersey, in, well, East Coast people, and they come down and they stay on the East Coast. You know, they come down to Boca and Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Melbourne, you know, Vero Beach. But you're right. You know, you get a lot of people from Ohio, Indiana. They come down and they settle on the West Coast, and yeah, that's been a trend that's been going on for a long time.
Well, and I have to tell you, I like that because when I go to the greater Tampa area, then I go maybe a little bit south towards Sarasota, I can actually find a couple of places here and there from Chicago. Maybe I can go get a reasonably good pizza. I don't eat New York garbage pizza. I'm sorry. I don't need greasy triangle. I can't do that. You hold it and all the grease dumps off of it. That's not pizza, folks. That is a stomach ache waiting to happen. If you want that, go to New York, go get some crappy pizza and call it a day. But if you want the real pizza, of course, hey, it is what it is. My father owned a pizza place in Chicago, and they may have invented the pizza in Napoli, but they perfected it in Chicago. So a nice round of applause. I can't help the bias. It is what it is. But you can even get a good Italian beef sandwich in the greater Tampa area. There's a couple of Portillo's there. Not that that's a great sandwich, but let's face it, it's better than the alternative. So we're not here to talk about food. We're here to talk about football and life and stuff. So Randy, what are you doing these days?
Well, these days I work with the NFL. I work with Major League Baseball. I work with pretty much every sport you can think of that has an organization that supports their former players with their mental health and substance abuse issues. So, you know, I'm not a licensed therapist, but I am somebody who peer support person for these different organizations. And, you know, Sal, there's a lot of guys out there, former players from pretty much every sport that are struggling, you know, with mental health issues and with substance abuse issues. And, you know, that's my role, is to go out there and offer them help, serve as a bridge to resources for them. And, you know, it seems like it's never getting any better. You know, it seems like it's just getting worse. And I don't just work with athletes or former athletes. I work with veterans. I work with first responders. I work with people who identify with the uniform, because, you know, I can remember when Sam Weiss put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Randy, we won't be needing your services here in Tampa anymore." I remember that feeling of, wow, that's how it ends. You know, all the blood, sweat, and tears that I've left on football fields all over this country since fourth grade. And that's how it ends with a coach that doesn't even call me in his office, you know, doesn't look me in the eye like a man, and tells me my career's over. And the reason I talk about that is because when I didn't have that uniform anymore, when I didn't have that playbook to look at anymore, when I wasn't Randy Grimes, the football player, I struggled for a long time.
That is a very big pill to swallow. And I mean, you had years of playing, thank God for that. And the only thing I can relate to from the baseball world, that's what I used to do 100 years ago. And I tore a rotor cuff. And that was the end at a very young age. I had literally a cup of coffee. I got a chance to bounce around a little bit, and you're never the same. And back then, I'm a handful of years younger than you. And the reality is, if you were injured, if you had a rotor cuff injury in our last minute of the segment here, I can tell you this. In baseball, it's a death sentence, especially back in the 1980s, early 90s. That's it. Your career is done. It's
Right.
kind of like Achilles in basketball. Your career is done. And so when you don't even get anybody to say, "I'm sorry, we don't need your services anymore," oh, guess what? Now you better go out and do something else. And I can understand it really plays tricks on you. And somehow you have to mentally keep it together, which is half the battle. So when we come back from break, Randy, I want to talk about the idea of mentally keeping it together. And it is a very bumpy road, folks. In case you don't know, this man that's with us today, he knows a little bit about this, and that's why he talks to people. That's why he's on the circuit. He's very, very good at it, and a very popular guy amongst the players and the leagues as well. Randy gets always a round of applause because he's kind of like a rock star when he walks to the room. The lights flash and stuff like that. But we're going to be back here with Randy Grimes in just a few minutes, folks. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere. Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935, or email us at info@thesportcircus.com. That's info@thesportcircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
AMP, the multi-format network, is here to help create, produce, distribute, and sell your content. For more information, send a message to info@aamp.tv. That's info@aamp.tv.
Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you with startup capital, business strategy, sales and marketing, and establishing your company with a physical location or on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea. The American Business Trust Company can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, you may visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's ABTRUSTCO.com, or call them at 657-600-1876. That's the American Business Trust Company, 657-600-1876. Call them today. They can help your business right away.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
You're listening to the Sports Circus, and I'm Mike Golick.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. AAMP TV stands for All Ages Media Programming Television. Make sure you check it out, AMP TV. This segment brought to you in part by our special guest, and that would be Randy Grimes. And here to tell you more about Randy and what he does is Randy Grimes.
Well, I am grateful that you had me on the show and for the invite. You know, I can remember, back in 1983, I was a second-round draft pick. I was 45th player selected in the draft, and this was before the big productions that they are now. With green rooms and private jets and all the coverage that players get on draft day. This was just me and my wife sitting by a telephone waiting for it to ring in a one-bedroom efficiency on the campus of Baylor University. And I can still remember John McKay, that old raspy cigar stained voice of his, was, "Hey, Randy, we just drafted you in the second. See you tomorrow." Click. And I'm like, "Hey, wait, coach, where's Tampa?" But, like I said, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And we were so excited to be going. I was a kid from East Texas. I'd never even seen the ocean. And Tampa had just gone to the playoffs the year before. So, technically I was going to a playoff team by the ocean. And man, we were so excited. And, when I got out there, I had a locker right next to Leroy Selman, the great Leroy Selman. And, I was just amazed at the fact that somebody was going to pay me to play a game that I probably would have played for free. But, me and Leroy had a lot of talks early on. This is before my first rookie training camp. This was during mini camps. And, the first thing I learned from Leroy was that football was no longer a game. Now it was a job. Yeah. And the second thing I learned from Leroy was you do whatever you have to stay out on that field. Because if you're not out there in your position, somebody else was going to be. And, I'm sure Leroy didn't mean to take a handful of pain pills every day and to practice and play through the injuries and the nagging little things that go on. But that's what I started to do because Sal, if you get that reputation of always missing practice, always being on the injury report, always back in the doctor's office, you never get away from that reputation in what's sure to be a short NFL career. So, I kept my mouth shut, big boys don't cry, all that kind of stuff. And I just started throwing down handfuls of pain pills every day. And, that got me through. And, also I played in an era where we used to beat the crap out of each other all week long. Now they hardly ever put on the pads anymore during the week. But, it was that mentality where if you don't practice hard, you're not going to play hard. And so, a lot of the injuries that we sustained back then were from our own guys. And I never understood that mentality, but it is what it is. And, that throwing down those pills every day, I looked at it like a necessary evil to be the best center that I could be, to be all pro, to get that next big contract, to feed my family. Those are ways that I justified what I was calling a necessary evil, but what it really was a full-blown addiction.
So we had a note come in from our dear friend Don Horn. He said to say hello.
Oh, Don, I love that guy.
Who doesn't?
He's a legend. He's a legend.
Right. So we always have to acknowledge Don. Don's been on the program several times, and he's just one of those guys. You want to be around him because he always has a good joke or something. He's always got those cigars going. I'm not a cigar smoker, but I don't mind being around him with it for some strange reason. Not really sure how that works, but whatever. I guess I'll keep drinking the hot cocoa. Not sure. But now
I look at him like royalty. He's one of those guys that made the game better for me.
Well, I think he makes the game better for a lot of people, but I think when he walks in the room, he makes the room better. Some people light up a room. He's one of those guys where you walk in, boom, you light up the room. Like when I saw you at the Dick of Jaws event, as soon as you walked in, it seemed like everybody gravitated to the red carpet. Hey, Randy's here. And it was the same kind of effect. And so I see how you and Don are kind of much aligned.
And I'm just so much better looking than him, though.
Well, me too, but he has more hair than I do. And actually, you have a lot more hair than I do, if you know what I mean. So that's okay. I don't mind that. But everybody watching, by the way, welcome back to everybody watching on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, all the way over, listening in Honolulu on KHKA, CBS Sports 1500, all the way over to Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM, WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves, over in Auburn, Alabama. Yeah, from Montgomery all the way to Columbus, Georgia, and a whole bunch in between. WBGY down in Southwest Florida. And of course, right here in Las Vegas, KJPT Jackpot Radio and KVGK Of course, that doesn't stand for Vegas Golden Knights, but it is KVGK. That is the home of the world champion at this point, the Stanley Cup champion, Vegas Golden Knights. Yes! How exciting. And of course, we have to do this for all of our Vegas Golden Knights fans. We have to bring Chance the mascot out. It's the Gila monster. I have to say, look, he's got more hair than I do. Everybody watching on TV. This is one of the funniest mascots I have ever seen. And really, it's one of those ones that you want to get a selfie with, even if you don't like that kind of thing. Randy, it's goofy, it's silly, but people love the Gila monster.
You think they could have came up with a little better bobblehead, right? Yeah.
Oh, come on now. That's one of the best ones I think I've ever seen. Look, I've got all the baseball players and whatnot in there and that. I've got one that you'll probably recognize. I got a good one here for you. Look at this.
Oh, wow.
Look at Jim Tunney. That's right.
That's fine. That one's great.
Yeah, Jim sent me that one several years ago. And I had Jim on the show. He's one of those guys.
What a great guy. What a great guy.
Well, when we had Jim on the show, I had Don Horn call in because of course, the Ice Bowl, right? We think of the Ice Bowl. And Jim was the referee on the field for that game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So way back. Jim goes way back.
Oh, yeah. He goes in the Wayback Time Machine for sure. Yeah. So nonetheless, I don't even know where we were, but you had talked about your experience and your speaking with different sports, different athletes. Mm-hmm. And I think that leadership really holds true because, again, when you're playing a sport and you can't play it anymore and the lights go off, right? It's the old Apollo Creed thing in Rocky 3. It was Rocky 3. Wait, what's Rocky 3? Rocky 4, right? When he fought the Russian. Remember that? Ivan Drago. I must agree. Right. But when the lights go off, and you're not out there doing what you've done. Now you've got to go to plan B. What was your plan B after football, Randy?
Well, and you always think you're ready for it. You always think you're ready for your last play to come. But Sal, until it really happens, you don't know how you're going to react. And, I was going to get into the agent business with my current, or my agent that I had at the time. I had this big plan. He had this big plan. And of course, when it didn't work out, then I was sitting there twiddling my thumbs, what's next? What am I prepared for? And, and it's, like I said, you think you're ready for it. You think you're preparing for it every off season, but until it actually happens, you don't know how you're going to react. And I was just not prepared. I was not prepared to not be Randy Grimes, the football player, anymore. And, I call it transitional trauma. And, I just raked everything out of my locker into a black trash bag and walked out the back door, and Randy Grimes, the football player, didn't exist. And when you throw that kind of trauma on top of the already raging addiction, then that's just throwing gasoline on a raging dumpster fire.
Well, unfortunately, raking things out into a trash can, showing your anger about your own career is a really trying thing mentally. And so if you just pull everything out and you throw it in a bag, you put the bag over your shoulder and walk out, and you kind of feel like a hobo from what your profession was. And so I think maybe those athletes here in our last minute of the segment, those athletes that, look, you get that tap on the shoulder, hey, it's time for you to move on. Because, folks, there's only two reasons you don't play professional sports anymore. A, you're injured, and B, you're not good enough. That's it. There are no other answers because it's all business. And if you could say, you know what, I've had several years in my league, whatever, doing what I did, I was fortunate to have that. It's hard to have that frame of mind when you get that tap on the shoulder, but you have to be grateful every day you're out there so you don't have this sticker shock when it comes time to pull everything out the locker and move along, right or wrong.
Very, very much right.
Yep.
And it comes hard. It comes at you hard, and it hits you hard. So that's one of the things I talk about now with athletes, when I can get their attention and try to get them to focus on the after part of this. You've got to have a plan in place. You've got to have something ready. And really the families have to help. People ask me what I miss most about the game. It's not the game. I miss the locker room, that camaraderie.
Absolutely. Folks, we're going to be back here with the great Randy Grimes in just a few minutes, folks. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere here on the Sports Circus. Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. All right, they've already heard that one. We've got 3 minutes before we come back on break. That's a really good point. I like the fact that you brought up the raking things out of the locker, because I had that visual. I sort of did the same thing. And I know what that one feels like. I didn't play as long as you, but man, it stinks.
Yeah, very, very few athletes get to leave the game on their own terms, very few. And you know that,
Oh, yeah.
And most of them are not set up for anything else outside of football yet. They think they can go give lessons or do football camps or baseball camps or, whatever it is. And that never works out. You're just not, the league does not do a very good job of preparing guys to transition,
No, I hear you. Pineapple and cucumber.
Yeah, that's gross, man.
It is so tasty, you wouldn't believe it. And
I would. You're right. I wouldn't believe it.
I don't like vegetables to save my life, anything like that. But I love pineapple. Like cucumber cooling, you wouldn't believe this actually tastes wonderful. And this is one of the best things for your brain, believe it or not. My friend, who's one of the leading neuroscientists in the country, Dr. Kristen Wellemeyer, she says, if I could drink this every day, my body would love me. It tastes surprisingly good. Really. It's one full pineapple, cut it down, and 2 cucumbers. Put it in the juicer. That's it. That's it.
Is that green from just cucumbers?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It's mostly pineapple, but it is unbelievably good. And it's filling. Hell, since I've been drinking this and exercise, I ride 30 plus miles a day on my bicycle.
Really?
Pounds. Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
How long does it take you to do that? 30 something miles.
On average, I'm probably pedaling. I'm not pedaling hard. Like last night I did 33 miles and it took me 3 hours and 6 minutes.
Wow. That's a long time to be in one place.
Buddy, I went 81 miles the other night.
Oh, God. Your rear end wasn't sore?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was remarkably sore. I sent that image over to my buddy Matt Joyce, who lives right there in Tampa. He played for the Rays, right? And Matt goes, he had made some comments about just that. And it was kind of funny because I'm like, wow, man, that kind of hurts, but it felt good. I rode through the canyon and everything. And
oh, wow.
I did. And I'm not an avid writer. I just kind of do it. All right, we're coming back from break in 10 seconds. All right. Hope you're having fun. All right.
Yes, I am.
Hey, everybody. This is Barry Katz from the Industry Standard Podcast, and you're listening to the Sports Circus with Sal Tuzzolino.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. This segment brought to you in part by Cali Vegas, helping people create and host their very own radio, TV, or multimedia talk shows. Cali Vegas can help with everything they need to get out of sitting in hours of traffic, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job, and host their very own talk show in their very own home studio. For more information, contact Cali Vegas at info@calivegas.com. That's info@CALIvegas.com. All right, welcome back to everybody on television, radio, live streaming, on YouTube as well. Everybody on Facebook. Our friend Don Horn, of course, who's watching as well. And And the universe, how about the Mars rover? I think we're up there too. Not really sure. We're back here with Randy Grimes, and Randy was telling me how much he absolutely loves vegetables and green drinks. Not realizing that I'm having a glass of pineapple and cucumber. It's one whole pineapple to two full cucumbers, cut them up, throw them in the juicer. And folks, I got to tell you, it tastes remarkably, surprisingly good. I'm not a green guy. I don't like green stuff. No, green money is good, if you know what I mean. Right. But outside of that, no, I don't drink those, but it's remarkably good. And a plug for Dr. Kristen Wellemeyer. She wrote a book called Biohack the Brain. It's been translated into 7 languages. She's one of those top speakers, and she really knows her stuff. Randy, this is someone you'll have to check her out, Dr. Kristen Wellemeyer, and her book is called Biohack the Brain. What a wonderful book and an even better human. All right, so where we left off, not really sure. We were talking about green drinks and bicycle riding. You like to ride a bicycle?
I do. I should do it more. Like I told you before the show, I just had my second knee replacement done 2 weeks ago, so I'm getting over that right now. But once that gets better, I want to get back out there, and the bicycle is the answer. It's low impact, and I think my body can absolutely take that. And I obviously need to do something. I'm getting fatter.
What is involved in a knee replacement? How does that work?
Oh man, it's such a medieval surgery. The doctor filmed it. The doctor sent me some pictures of it, and man, there's a between the sawing and the hammering and the chiseling and the chipping, and it's a medieval surgery.
Stop it!
It's the best decision I ever made.
So, okay. So when they replace the knee, I mean, I'm trying to imagine, all right, we'll take one knee out here and we'll put another knee in here. How does this actually work? I mean, what parts are they actually replacing?
Well, they're taking off the very end of your fibula, which is the biggest bone in your body. They're taking off the end of that and replacing that with a titanium ball. You know what the end of a bone looks like, and so they've replicated that with titanium, and then they'll take off the top of your tibula, which is your lower leg bone, and they'll put a flat piece there. And what they're doing is, most times it's bone on bone, and that's what makes the pain. And so they're replacing that, and now it's titanium on plastic. And I mean, your ligaments, your cartilage, anything that you have left in that knee is still going to stay in place, but you're not going to have that bone on bone that's generating all that inflammation and pain anymore. And it doesn't really slow me down, because it's not like I was doing a lot super active. I can still swing a golf club. I can still ride a bike, and I can do stuff like that. I can lay out on the beach, which I'm an expert at that. And, but it is an option for getting out of severe pain. And a lot of people have knee pain, just like they have hip replacements, and hip pain.
Right. Well, I was told 20 odd years ago by a doctor, his name is Dr. Patel, and he does full body exams, right? The full body MRIs. And I used to do this every couple, 3 years, and basically match my insurance to whatever he said, how much coverage would I need. And he told me about 22 years ago, well, when you're in your mid 50s, you might be one of those candidates for a hip replacement. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm in great shape today. He goes, well, I see it's degenerative and this, that. I said, don't call me a degenerate. No, I just know it is. Right. But anyway, it was one of those things that he had said. So now I find myself in my a little bit older years, right around the time that he said, and I find myself on an inversion table, constantly adjusting my back before and after I ride. And frankly, it's every day. And I can't really do much until my back almost adjusts. The pressure has been relieved and you can feel a big pop in there. Like, oh, okay, I'm ready to go again. So maybe that's part of the hip replacement thing. I don't know, but I'm a mess. But I try to stay as active as possible.
And the cool thing about my surgery is Dr. Pete Candelori did it. And he's part of that great organization we were talking about earlier. And that's the Gridiron Grace, Coach Ditka's organization. And to have him, be the quarterback of that surgery, it just went really smooth. It's going really smooth now, 2 weeks out. No, actually 3 weeks out. I'm already walking without a walker or a cane. Like I said, greatest decision I ever made. And now I've got both of them done, and there's nothing left to hurt anymore.
Right. Well, Randy, is there any kind of maintenance that has to happen on your knee? Like, because you said there's different parts, right? Maybe some plastic, some titanium. After every certain amount of years, do you have to get parts replaced or serviced, kind of like a car, 30, 60,000 mile service?
I have heard of people that have had to go back in and get something replaced, whether it was a breakdown here or there, or even ligament or cartilage damage. But I'm hoping I'm not one of them. I'm hoping that I'm one and done.
Well, I'm wondering if you're going to get a call from the auto warranty company. Now, we also offer knee warranties too, right? You get the extended warranty for your knee. How does that work?
We've been trying to track you down. About your warranty on your knee.
But you're going around too fast. We can't seem to catch up to you. Oh, come on, that's good material right there. But I think that, look, if people get themselves back active, there's a lot of people out there that they say they have aches and pains. Oh, I can't be active anymore. Get your ass out there and go do something. God gave you 2 feet, 2 legs. Get out there and do something. I don't care if you got to crawl. Do some kind of exercise because, hey, let's face it, as we get older, it gets harder to move around. And it's our job to be in reasonably good shape.
You're right. And when you slow down, you start dying. You got to stay moving. And that's why I'm so glad that I got this done. I can get back out there now and start working on myself, free of pain. And, a lot of the guys that I deal with from different sports, their chronic pain and their injuries that they've taken into retirement, a lot of times they just continue to suffer in silence and they start self-medicating. And that's where problems begin, and it doesn't matter if you're a jockey or a race car driver or a golfer, you're going to have those injuries along the way. And, that's my message today when I go out and speak to these guys is that it's okay to not be okay. But you got to put your hand up and ask for help. That old mentality where big boys don't cry, where you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, get back in the huddle. That those days are over. There's some serious issues going on out there, and we're trying to remove the stigma that goes with guys and girls asking for help.
Randy, what drives me crazy about it is if we look at it, maybe when you were playing, when you and I were sort of in the middle of what we did in a former life, you could get pain pills, you could get stuff if you needed it, but it's like you almost had to go to your guy, right? Or your girl, whoever had that stuff. Nowadays, it seems that not only are players making business decisions on the field, some for the betterment, a lot for not. But more importantly, the team doctors and the medical staff are doling out these pills. When we come back from break, I want to talk about how readily available these opioids are to players and staff members and to the general public, because in today's time, there are a lot of substances that are not good for your kidneys, your livers, your brain, and all those other vital organs. They're just not good for you. Synthetic drugs are not good for anybody, frankly, for anything, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. I understand pain management, but at the end of the day, if you're taking a pill, it's not going to help your body in the long run. That's for sure. Randy, take 10 seconds, talk about that, and let's go to break.
Well, I think now there is more accountability than it was 20 years ago. And when we come back from break, I'll tell you a story about how I used to the availability of everything back then. It was a different time.
Yeah, it certainly was. All right, folks, back here with Randy Grimes in just a few minutes. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. Make sure you check them out. Randy, what's your website real quick?
Hey, you can find me at proathletesinrecovery.org, or, and we'll talk about the book in a little bit, but you can offcenterthebook.com.
All right, folks, back here with Randy Grimes. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere. I love the cartoon sound effects. I'll leave that in there for the entire commercial break for everybody else that wants to listen into it. I watch cartoons. The only things I watch really on TV are sports and cartoons. I don't care about nothing else. I really don't, because I already know my news.
Oh, Sal, you struck me as a Real Housewives guy.
Oh, yeah.
drinking your juicer there.
Hey, this is really good stuff. Are you kidding? I went to the candy convention in Chicago recently. I go every year. I gained 9 pounds in 8 days.
Well, wait a minute. What is a candy convention?
I'll tell you. So the Sweets and Snacks Expo happens every year. Chicago is the candy capital of the world. I don't know if you know that, but there are more confectionery factories there than anywhere else in the world.
I did not know that.
Like there are more art museums per capita there than anywhere else in the world. I could do this one all day. But the candy convention is where they showcase all the confectionery companies, big and small. They go and showcase their prize items, and they reintroduce some of their older items. The coolest thing that I saw, newest product, and I'm going to plug these guys right now. I have to tell you, when you eat an ice cream cone, when you eat, remember, those frozen drumsticks, right? They're wonderful, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
What's the best part about those? Let me ask you.
I don't know. What
a lot of
people going with this?
A lot of people will take that cone, right? Because you have the triangular cone, whatever and then the chocolate covered and the nuts on top.
Bite off the bottom.
Actually, what?
Bite off the bottom of the cone.
There it is.
There.
Only the bottom of the cone. Imagine that. This is crazy. There are two companies this company right here, and then there's another one called Muddy Bites. And Muddy Bites is phenomenal. They sent me some samples. I gave them to the crew. The crew ate them up in a hot second. They are so good. Oh my God. And it's the bottom of those ice cream cones. That's all they make. What a great thing, right?
Yeah, really.
9 pounds in 8 days. Imagine that.
Wow. Congratulations. That's quite an achievement.
I've been busting ass to try to lose it back. All right, here we go.
9935 or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, WAMP TV. Also, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from Southwest Florida all the way to Honolulu and a bunch of points in between, even right here in Las Vegas, KGPT, Jackpot Radio, and all the others. Also, welcome back to everybody on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, Wow Cable TV, as well as Hotel TV in over 600,000 rooms from coast to coast, gaining over 4 million impressions per hour. This segment brought to you by the great Randy Grimes, and he has a book that's out there that a lot of people should be reading, and here to tell you about it is Randy Grimes.
Thank you very much. And yeah, the book title is Off Center, and it's a memoir of my addiction and how it affected not only myself but my family, and of course it's a comeback story too, Sal. And everybody loves a great comeback story. And the reason I wanted to write this book is because I wanted it to be a healing process for the Grimes family. I didn't really care if it sold a copy or not, but I at least wanted everybody, from my children to my mom, my brother, my sister, everybody that was affected by my addiction. I wanted them to have a platform where they could share what they went through. And, Coach Ditka wrote the foreword for it. He supported me throughout the whole thing. I've got some great quotes in there from different people: Eric Hipple, Coach Jackie Sherrill, of course Grant Taft, some legends of the game, and the book has done great. I released it out at the Super Bowl out in Los Angeles, and it's just done really well, and I'm so proud of that. And we were talking a minute ago about the availability of drugs or painkillers and sleeping pills and that kind of stuff in the league. And, since I've been advocating for more accountability over the last 14 years, it has gotten better. But back when I played, we had an open drug safe. You could just go get whatever you wanted to out of it. And if it was ever accidentally locked, we had 3 white guys that started on defense, and their jersey numbers were the combination of the safe the whole 10 years that I was there. So availability was there. I mean, that was the nature of the beast back then. Like you said, it was a different era. It was a different season.
Yeah, it was a different era for sure. But pain management is something that a lot of players have to deal with. But now when we think about what's going on the field today, with all the big money that's floating around, the mad money that's rolling around, I wonder now, Randy, if certain people on the inside of certain teams, they want certain players out on the field, out on the court, or out on the ice, because there's so much revenue at stake. And if those players aren't out there, well, the company, being the team, may lose a little bit of money. And what about the pressures, the internal pressures of that player being on the field, on the court, on the ice? Do you think that has anything to do with anything?
Absolutely. And, the medical staff of these different teams, or these organizations, they have a lot of pressure being put on them by not only the coaches, but the owners as well. But I've got to say that nobody puts more pressure on the medical staff to get back out there probably sooner than they should than the player. Because like we started this whole thing out with, if you're not out there in your position, somebody else is going to be. And that's one thing you do not want to let happen. So you're willing to do, Sal, and this, you're willing to do whatever you have to, because
your job is to get your ass out there and play come hell or high water. Because if you're not going to play, somebody else is going to play. And that's the reality of it.
And we're all so easily replaced, that's why they say, the NFL stands for not for long,
that's right,
because we are so easily replaced. And, I had gotten hurt halfway through that last season, and I knew I couldn't go try out for anybody else. I tore up an ankle that I was still getting over. And I knew then that it was over. I just didn't know it was over. I didn't know how I was going to react to it. And like I said, I didn't do well. But, it's not the game that I missed. It's the camaraderie. I missed the locker room. That was the hardest thing to try to replace. And, I've been sober now since September 22nd, 2009, coming up on 14 years. And through recovery, I have that new locker room.
Out of all your speaking engagements, do you have special speaking engagements for maybe medical staff, for the trainers and whatnot, outside of just the players? Because of course you're going to have it for corporations, you're going to have it for players, but what about for the training staff and those that are learning the training business?
Well, yeah, I try to tailor it for whatever group that I'm speaking to. But usually it's just people they want you to be honest. They want you to be broken and surrendered. They want to hear that humbleness in your voice when you talk about this, because addiction is something that affects everybody. There's not a person in this country that probably doesn't know somebody that has struggled with addiction or mental health issues. So, it's important that we get the word out. And, like I said earlier about the stigma that's associated with addiction and mental health issues, a lot of people will bury their head in the sand and just think if they don't think about it, it's going to go away. Or if they don't acknowledge it, it's not really there. But it is. It really is there. And it affects the whole family. It's like I look at it like a big jellyfish, and it just has tentacles that just reach out and touch everybody, and it stings. And so that's my job, is to get out there, help as many guys and girls as I can, and also tear down that stigma that keeps families from raising their hand and asking for help.
Well, it's interesting you say that about the families, because in today's time, just generally speaking, we have an ever-changing environment where kids are exposed to things, in my opinion, they probably shouldn't be exposed to. I wonder what kind of opioids and whatnot they're also being exposed to.
Well, and you see it every day. You see all the fentanyl out there that's killing people. We're losing an entire generation of young people right before our eyes here, and we can't stop it. They're buying it on Instagram. They're buying it on that chat, whatever that is. They're buying it. They're getting it online and having it delivered to their houses. It's just it's insane what's going on out there, and you never know what you're buying. You might think you're buying a legitimate pain pill that came from a Walgreens pharmacy, when really, it was pressed in somebody's garage down in Mexico, and fentanyl was added to it, and it's one and done, Sal. You don't come back from that.
It's scary to imagine of what is available to the masses today. Hell, I do a lot of bicycle riding, as I told you. And I remember I stopped at one of those coffee shops. I had to use the restroom, whatever. And I went into this restroom. It's not but a few miles from the house. And sure enough, inside the bathroom, it's all like black lit, right? Because that's the mood that they have in there or whatever. I'm not really sure why. Well, you walk in there and there's all kinds of graffiti and stuff on the wall. And there it was, buy your fentanyl at this particular thing. So at night, when I go, it's usually around a particular hour, and I see the police usually congregate and they do their shift change literally a quarter mile from my location. And so I pulled one of them over. Yes, I pulled one of those guys over. And I said, by the way, are you familiar with XYZ Coffee House down the road that has all this advertisement and whatnot for fentanyl in there? And they said, well, all we can do is check it out, but we have to have a search warrant. I'm like, well, can't you get one? I mean, a lot of people go to this particular place around the year, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. If you see what's around there, you're like, well, why is it that they congregate over there? Well, in my opinion, I could say it because it's my opinion. In my opinion, they're going there, some of them, to study or whatnot. I'm not really sure how people could study in a coffee house, but some of them are going there for social reasons and to acquire stuff. And so it concerns me because A, number one, it's out there. And B, who's getting their hands on this stuff? And like you had said, Randy, what about the quality of the product in the first place? We don't even know. Nobody knows what they're really getting unless they get it from XYZ pharmacy, I suppose.
Yeah. And it's really sad. the number of deaths that we've had over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, they keep escalating every year. And, parents are losing not only one child, but 2 children. And, it's not getting any better. We get out there, we do the best we can. We talk to as many people, we educate. We're not going to legislate our way out of this. We're not going to arrest our way out of it. But what we can do is educate our way out of it. And that's my job.
Okay, so listen, we're coming up on the end here. I want you to spend some time, talk about your book, talk about where people can get it, and also how they could see your speaking engagements and everything else that you're involved in. Yeah,
and please go take a look at the book. You're going to love it. There's something in there for everybody. It's called Off Center, and you can go to offcenterthebook.com or just go to Amazon and look up Randy Grimes Off Center. The speaking engagements have been doing really good. Go to the website, which is proathletesinrecovery.org. And you can get all the information, not only on me, but my wife and, what she went through with my addiction and what she's doing now to help me. And, it's crazy that it's almost like God was preparing me all those years of struggling through that addiction to do what I do now, which is help other former athletes. And, he's keeping me connected to a game that I love so much.
That's a great thing to be involved in something that if you're not playing, you have to have some involvement with it. Remember when Rocky wasn't fighting anymore, he said, I just want to be around it.
Right.
Right. And that's really what this comes down to. But you're helping people. And I think that's phenomenal. And of course, that always deserves an astounding round of applause. Randy, you're always welcome back here. Hey, you know what? Maybe you can get me a Buccaneers hat. Maybe I can get rid of one of these or one of these down here. I don't really know.
I see 4 you can get rid of right there.
Well, why don't you give me the old creamsicle hat, and I'd love to put it up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's good stuff. All right, folks, for Randy Grimes, I'm your ringmaster, Sal, and we'll see you next time in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So until then, so long, everyone.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection